बेसिकली मैं उधर मूव करूंगा ना, तब जूम इन करना होगा आपको वो चार्ट के ऊपर। हाँ, बिफोर वी गेट स्टार्टेड अनुज, अपना थोड़ा सा बता दो अपने बारे में, इफ इट्स ओके। What made you come here today? Ah. Well, these 3, 4 ladies, 6 ladies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're the biggest supporters of this work. Yes, but I am. It's sort of apparent to me that women have a staying power. रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है, चलो टाइम क्या हुआ अभी बताएगा मुझे? 5:20. Okay, so true.
Are you going to put all the videos you're recording online?
At some point, yes, but right now, what I'm just doing is, because I'm doing it for the first time, I'm trying to get a sense of what I'm saying and what the material is and how I want to present it. But yes, it will go online. These videos will at some point go online. And we have a WhatsApp group now, right? So I will share when I'm uploading them. If there is any session you want specifically, let me know. I just wanted to have a look at them again before I uploaded them. I haven't even seen any of those videos yet.
Because my friend Suma, who came with me first day, but she couldn't come after because she has to leave. She left already. She's really interested.
Yes, so yes, that's the plan. There's a lot of plans I have right now. So let's see where it goes. There will be, for example, a book that I'm hoping will come out by the end of next year. And then, yeah, there are plans. But all right, let's do a quick prayer. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. From untruth to truth, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. So today is December 31st, the last year of 2025. The brave hearts are here. So from our eternal calendar, Swamiji says, I have given you advice enough. Now put at least something in practice. Let the world see that your reading of scriptures and listening to me has been a success. So, this is where, on this path, the rubber hits the road. Books can only take us that far. And today's topic happens to be knowledge also. So, it's quite apt, this quote. But without practice, everything is theoretical, isn't it? Everything that we've talked about so far, dhyana, bhakti, karma, who am I, all of that has to be internalized and then worked with. So today, I think is one of the more important sessions of our series because we talk about this person today, the soul person, the one that is sitting inside Arjun but is also not seen to Arjun. And that is why working with it is so hard. It's like fighting a invisible enemy. This experiencing person I can feel. I can work with it. This doing person I can see. I can work with it. This one is a joker, pulling our strings in the karmic wheel over there. Carl Jung would call it subconscious. And it is made up of dualities again. There is a version of us that is in bondage to patterns, triggers, samskaras, desires. But then there is also another person in us that wants to go beyond these limitations. Mystics call it the soul's yearning for freedom. It's here. Freedom to where? Well, this bird wants to fly over to here. It's destiny, as Krishna will say. Consciousness, Atman. I will take the philosophy dolls away just so that we can focus more on our friend Arjun. In Vedanta, this is called Jivatman, individualized soul. And this is Atman, pure consciousness, the collective consciousness, the universal consciousness, pure, unconditioned. So, I call this as a one-player game, Bhagavad Gita. Each of us is made differently. Whatever we might have done differently in our previous lives and whatever we've done in this life, not only done, but whatever has happened to us also, that is also karma, isn't it? So karma, two parts, action and the internalization of the action, consequence. That's here. And usually, in modern day psychology, the soul is painted, I feel, rather unfairly as something that has problems, you know, triggers, trauma. But then, oftentimes, what is overlooked is that our bestest of our best virtues are here also. So our job is to really get to know this. Not only the not so good in it, but the really good in it that makes us special, different. The world will try you its utmost best to tell you to fit in. How do you then understand and stand in your own truth? Is what this is about. Fitting in, career, relationships, place where we stay, whatever it is. Takes a lot of courage to really understand it and stand in its truth. And that is the task for us because it is a one player game. We saw that, Krishna says, follow your own dharma. Do not follow somebody else's dharma. This is your dharma, knowing this person in its full glory and its not so glories is your dharma. That will enable us to not only work with these bodies in a more wholesome way, but it will get us here. So this is the one that is driving our wheel unseen. Here. I'll refer to the notes I sent on the WhatsApp group now. So Krishna, or rather Arjun, start of chapter 8.1 asks Krishna, Shruti, can you forward Anuj the printout on WhatsApp? So Arjun asks, what is this Adi Atman? Adi Atman is this person. And Krishna calmly responds in this cryptic way. He said, the expression of Brahman is Adi Atman. Brahman and Atman are the same in Advaita. So its expression is this soul. But a conditioned expression. Conditioned by what? Conditioned by ignorance. Heavy word ignorance, doesn't sound very well, but ignorance of what? The opposite of ignorance is knowledge. What does Gita call knowledge? It doesn't call knowledge about the normal things of the world. The knowledge that Krishna talks about is the knowledge of you being the Atman. You being the consciousness. The infinite, eternal, undying, imperishable. And this soul forgets that. That's the ignorance. And because of that ignorance, the unlimited, my Swami says, the unlimited becomes limited and the game starts. Because the unlimited becoming limited now wants to chase desires. So ignorance, the next causal link is desires. And when desires follow from karmic wheel, desires in the soul person, action follows. This action follows. And when this action follows, the consequence follows. When the consequence follows, bondage follows. We see the daisy chain here. Ignorance of who we are leads to desires. Desires lead to actions. Actions lead to consequence. Consequence for that action now leads us to bondage. Bondage of whatever that repeated pattern is. And that wheel over here keeps on going, moment to moment, all the time. Sometimes it goes towards goodness, which is, let's call it merit, karmic credit. Sometimes it goes in the opposite direction. Let's call it karmic debit. Let's look at our lives even today. Whatever we are today is not a random accident. If provisionally we say, I don't know if there is an afterlife and I don't know if, karma follows me after this life or not, but let us evaluate our lives. And when we say action, karma doesn't mean what we have done, but it also means what has been done to us by, say, outside circumstances also. Right? So, but whatever we have internalized is all here. Make sense? So this is the ask before us, Krishna says, is to understand this person, which is this only, the soul person. It's made up of two halves. One is karma, this half. We put it in a seed form because from the seed tree comes. So from this seed, it sprouts into an experience that becomes a tree, action, and we go. Make sense? So to understand this, we need to, so one half is karma, the other half is jnana. Karma is two parts here, karma phala. Karma phala is fruit of the action. We must have heard of it, no? Karmane vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Phaleshu is the fruit. That fruit is how we internalize that action. Again, focused inner world, not outside. What we build outside is what we build outside. This is all what we are building inside. So that is the fruit, what we build inside. What do we build inside? Karmic impressions of what we have done and what has been done to us. And that then leads to bondage, my triggers, my patterns, my habits, my behaviors, my gifts also. Remember, like there's some kids who are prodigious when they're born. Extraordinarily prodigious. Must be coming from some place. The other half of that is ignorance. We just touched upon that. Jnana, knowledge. Knowledge, the opposite is ignorance, which brings in desire. So this wheel goes in like ignorance, desire, ignorance fuels desire, desire fuels karam phala or consequence, that feels bondage, and there we go on this merry-go-round. And when we say know yourself, we're not really talking about this knowing yourself. That is just is that you are automatically, you will get to know it once we get to know this one. Why? Because this soul person is just a covering, like a mirror that has dust on it, no? And we cannot see our face clearly. So if the mirror is this, Atman, this is the dust on that mirror. Dust that we've accumulated lifetime over lifetime. So the ask before us is to polish this mirror so it shines. It shines so that this is revealed. And the promise then is, then we exit the game. Exiting the game might sound very scary, but it's not. You just become, it's very hard to explain, but maybe in the interest of time, I'll just pause it. And if there's question around it, like, because we all have a desire to exist, isn't it? But when somebody says, oh, you'll cease to exist, it sounds scary, no? Let's table it for now, what really that means. That'll take me some time to explain. So in the printout I gave is exactly what this table is, what I just went through. So now let's start with today's topic then. So this soul person has both jnana and karma, and it will start with karma. So with this sort of foundation laid out, I think everything will flow very easily. But I'll reiterate it again, knowing this person, its virtues and its vices, is the job of this life that has been given to us. Because then we will be able to live to our fullest potential. Otherwise, all kinds of limitations, all kind of fears, all kind of desires, all kinds of insecurities will be chasing us. And it's okay to acknowledge those, that's okay. That gives us a window into working with them. So let's start with desires. So this soul person wants things, no? Because I said it feels it doesn't have enough. Whatever those samskaras are, impressions are. And Krishna says, 7.27, he says, mesmerized by dualities. All beings are hypnotized from the moment they're born. When you're born, you carry on your samskaras from previous lives. This is the start of Maya. Illusion that we call. This is not Maya. Maya starts from here. Inner Maya, inner hypnosis, inner illusion. Then that reverberates through the experiencing person and the doing person. And these desires cause us to, yesterday we saw desires lead to anger and um, what was the third one? Three gates of hell. No, desire leads to anger and, geez, I'll remember it. Desires lead to anger, basically, isn't it? And greed. Desires lead to greed and anger ultimately. Desires fulfilled leads to more greed. Desires unfulfilled leads to anger. And there's a very famous verse in Mahabharata where Duryodhan says to Krishna, when Krishna has come with a peace proposal, Duryodhan says, I know you are right. But he says, I know what dharma is, Duryodhan says. You know this one? Jnana me dharma. He says, I know what dharma is, but I do not act according to it. I know what adharma is, but I cannot refrain from doing it. Some divine force dwelling in my heart compels me, and I act according to its wishes. He calls that unseen a divine force, which Arjun also reframes in 3.36. He says, Krishna, under what impulse does a man commit sin? Sin is a heavy word, but let's say mistakes. It's as if against their wish, as if it's well planned by a force, unseen force, pulling the strings. And if we are not careful, we always succumb to it. And the next three verses, Krishna will say, what is that force? He says, it's selfish desire. It is anger born of rajas. He says, all consuming, all sinning. Know these desire to be enemies in this world. And he says, just as smoke covers a fire, dust a mirror, in the same way, the desires cover our knowledge, which means desire make us ignorant. They cover the knowledge and then ignorance comes. He says, the form of desire is insatiable like a fire. And how do desires express themselves? Through the experiencing person, wants, likes, dislikes. That's what he says next. The senses, the mind, and the intellect, which is the experiencing person here that we saw yesterday, they are the home of the desires. And he tells Arjun in a very direct way, says, slay this heart to overcome enemy, this desire. So, the ask before us is just like a homework assignment. Sit with and start writing our desires. Whatever we know, there'll be more also, but maybe on a blank sheet of white paper or chart like that, start writing whatever your desires are. And we touched upon it a few days back. If we are really, really analytical about our desires, whatever their money, careers, wanting to be appreciated in the world, being seen, being validated, being secure, finding relationships, staying in relationships, they'll all come from one primal source: safety and belonging. Which, according to Gita, is this.
Can I ask the question now or maybe later on? Wanting to be to feel safe and belong. It's a basic one that everyone has. How come is it a desire?
Yes,
It's a basic human want.
yes. Every desire. So a few days back, I was saying Maslow got his hierarchy pyramid upside down. He put self-actualization at the top, food at the bottom. I humbly disagree. I say it's actually upside down. Our need as humans, our biggest desire is to say that सब तो ठीक है. That is sattvic desire. That is who am I's ultimate answer. If for example, Arjun's crisis was what? I don't want to kill these people. I have fear I'll die. In some ways, he had a safety crisis, no? Arjun, Krishna says what? Don't worry, you're the Atman. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to understand and differentiate between the desire that comes from the basic human need as in comparison to what we have separately, like my soul will have separate desires, like some deep-rooted desires. So when you say that we have to note down all the desires and acknowledge them, it's the soul person's desire, right? Like my own soul's desire, not the thing. The thing will be like generic for all.
Let me give an example. Let's say our desire is money. What will it lead to? Safety around my circumstances only, no? Ultimately, everything when you map down, smallest desire, ultimately, it'll go down to that bucket only. Do that exercise and see what we get. I've done that, so I know. Okay, let's move to the next bit, which is once this person does action, the consequences felt by this karma phala. And what did we learn from karma yoga? If we don't want to have consequences, then we have to let go of the fruit. Simple. Do your karma, action, what is your duty? To the best of your ability. Demote your ego. Do the right duty with the right discipline. And keep striving, cheshta. Whatever happens, then happens. Then you are not in bondage. Make sense? So, that expectation dropping is what severs the bond between this body and this body. Ultimately, we don't want to accumulate anything here, no, before we can say become one with this. So severing that bond is tyaga, letting go. But letting go when you've done your best. Not letting go when you've done your half best. Any big goal will require us that kind of a thing. And he says it again and again. He says, seek the shelter of karma yoga, for miserable are those who are motivated by outcomes. The more attached we are to a certain outcome, the more miserable we'll be. Famous karmaneva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You have the right to actions but not to the fruits. So this is what he's saying here. There are additional verses in it that are in your printout. You can look at it when you have the time. And however we do an action and however much attachment we have to the quote unquote the fruits of that action, Krishna analyzes by gun also. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. You see the gear wheel here? He says, actions done well are sattvic. You've done your best. And he says, pure are its fruits. But the fruit of Rajas is sorrow, attachment. If it works, fine, but next time it may not work. Our mind works in a very tricky way. 99.99% of our body is working fine. We don't pay no attention to it. But that little sort of soreness in my leg, no, that will keep bothering me. So evolution has designed us to unfairly be unhappy. Despite everything, most things in our life being good. Isn't it? A good worksheet exercise other than desires will also be like, what are the good things happening in my life? There's this idea, gratitude journaling and all. I think there's there's a lot of merit to it. So the fruit of Rajas, this chasing we keep on doing, ultimately will lead to sorrow only. Krishna says. And then he says the fruit of Tamas is ignorance. Sattva, pure consequence. Rajas, sorrow. Tamas, darkness and ignorance. Finally, he says, it is impossible for us not to do action because it's always happening. Mind is always working. Close your eyes. We may just be sitting here still. Action is still happening. Thoughts. But he says, Tyaga is the practice here to sever this bond. I will skip the sin and merit part, the karmic wheel. We've talked about it a few times and the verses are there, but we've spoken about it where he says, if you abandon this war, you will accumulate sin. If you fight this war, you will accumulate merit. Either you will win, you'll enjoy this kingdom. If you die, you'll go to heaven. And this verse is very beautiful. He says, actions offered to Brahman who perform by letting attachments go, they are not touched by sin, just as a lotus leaf is untouched by the water. A few days back I said, no, be of the world, but be in the world, but not be of the world. That is what the lotus leaf does. It can grow in a muck and it is unattached. So just being in the world, we'll have to do action, a job or responsibilities. It's unavoidable. How we decide to operate in this world is the choice we have. And this is practice. Easy for me to sit up here and talk about it, but it's a practice for all of us. So we've talked about two things already. Three things: desires leading to sin, sin leading to consequence, fruits, and then over time what we become. And there are two opposite ends of the spectrum Krishna talks about: angels and demons, saints and sinners. Just to draw our attention to it, we're all a mix of them. We're all grey. What this soul person is grey. Grey is black and white mixture. We all have relative mixture of black and white. Some have a lot of white, less black. Some might have a lot of black, less white. The black and white is saints and sinners, angels and demons, virtues and vices. No need to be hard upon ourselves. We are all a mix of black and white. And chapter 16th in Gita is named aptly as Devi Asurim Sampad Yoga, which is the yoga of saintly and devilish treasures, virtues or qualities basically. And that's what Shruti has been meaning to get to. So he says in your printout, it's a very easy chapter actually, and I've in your handout, I've given the whole translation of the chapter. Very, very vivid language. I won't go through it at your own leisure, but easy chapter to run through. But the language is so direct again. I'll read 2 or 3 verses here to drive the point here. But he says, Krishna, two kinds of beings are created in this world, the saints and the sinners. The saintly virtues, he says, they free. The devilish qualities, they bind. And what are the saintly qualities? There are 26 of them listed here, but some of the ones I'll call out. And it might lead like a list, but we don't have to think of it like a list. Because there are no two versions of us. There's no two versions of us being purely saintly or purely demoniac. We all cycle between them. So some of the saintly treasures, he says, is fearlessness. If you believe you are this, along with everyone else in this world, fear comes when we start creating that difference. I'm my problems. But imagine an attitude of worldview where you are not separate from everyone. What is to fear then? Another one is a very good one. I'll pick the ones that we haven't talked about. Not finding faults with other people. We're very quick to say, we're very quick to find fault in other people but not look within ourselves. It's always a good thing to encourage people. Like some people are conditioned to always find faults, no? compassion, gentleness, humility, forbearance when things go hard, a simple life, self inquiry, which is the perennial who am I question. These may sound like obvious things, but look at the model of the world we are presented to, where we are encouraged to do this, the opposite, isn't it? So, like this, there is listed down about 20, is listed down 26 qualities. I just picked 5 or 6. But they're not 26, as I said, separate things. They're all one only. Once we sit down with it, once we go more and more deeper inside of us. ठीक चल रहा है ना वो? Another one. Free from malice. How much envy and jealousy we have walking around in this world for other people? They have this, I don't have this. How is that ever going to make us feel steady? So these are some of the saintly treasures I pulled out. I'll read some of the. Now he contrasts against the devils and he sketches out a whole profile for the devils. He says, the devils think that this world is only a product of selfish desires. Me and me. And they believe in this worldview that there is no other purpose than just blindly following what we want. And to do that, he says, they indulge, they're intoxicated, full of hypocrisy and arrogance, and they indulge in wrong actions. They're trapped in endless anxieties until death. The highest goal of life is to pursue desires, that's what they believe. Bound by 100 ropes of hopes given to desire and anger, they strive, even if unjustly, to accumulate wealth. This was gained by me today, this I wish to gain tomorrow, this I have now, this will also be mine in the future. This grabbing things. Take. Few days back we talked about give and take. He's sketching out a world which is take and take. So he says, these hateful, cruel, the lowest men of the world, I repeatedly, he says, I throw them to unholy, demonic-like wombs. Special place is reserved for them. Next life, they'll go to unholy, demonic-like wombs. And he says, from those wombs, they then sink to even lower places. So don't be a devil. Bad idea. So this soul, as I was saying, is made up of both good and not so good thing. But let's not fixate only on not so good things. Let's also fixate on good things. That's the way out of this trap. More we focus on our good things, the more it will give us the perseverance to go on when things will definitely get hard. Everybody's life is hard. Life is, I always say, is a problem solving exercise. And then over time our patterns get solidified, which leads to the next thing, bondage. Ignorance, desire, sin, karamfala, fruits, bondage.
Is this a time to ask you a question? Or
I just wanted to just finish this karma part and then take a break for jnana. Then maybe we'll just have a question. You're mindful of time here, so that's why I'm trying to. Yeah. So basically, what is this bondage? Arjun says. Sorry, Krishna says. Again, the root cause. Buddha discovered it many thousands of years later on. Is desires also. Dukkham dukkham sarvam dukkham. Shunyam shunyam sarvam shunyam. Root cause is desires. But what kind of desires are allowed? Desires in accordance with dharma. They are fine. So this is how we get these karmic impressions and bondage. He says the yogi, by giving up fruits of action, finds peace. The not yogi, attached to the fruits, finds bondage. That's the formula. He says actions other than for unselfish service will create bondage. There's some selfish actions also probably required somewhere. There's always that mix. And then he says, who are these people? These people are who neither hate nor desire. Whatever comes, comes. Like Sthit Pragya, Prajahati Yatha Kaman, who has dropped all desires. They will still come, but then sit with it, let them pass. And that he says, free of dualities, they are free from bondage. And finally, what is the end result of this bondage? Rebirth, he says. What kind of rebirth? I'll just read this. This is Hindus' version of heaven and hell. Three worlds, earth, heaven and hell. So he says the people who are following the desires, they worship me with actions and they pray to go to heaven. They take their good merits to Indra Loka, the heaven, and they enjoy the divine pleasures of the gods. You spend time in the heavens, but then you have to come back once that karma credit expires. They, after having enjoyed the vast heaven, enter the world of mortals, which is the earth, when their merits are exhausted. In this way, these people, he uses the word go and come, not come and go. Go and come. Go and come. Desiring for their desires to be fulfilled. They go and come desiring for their desires to be fulfilled. And then there's another story in your handouts, which is fine, I tried my best. What happens next? I still don't make it. I still don't make it to this guy. I still have some impressions. What do happens to me then? Obvious question, no, when it gets hard. That's where faith comes in. Truth be told, there is no other choice before us. Either we keep repeating our patterns and we keep going opposite direction, or we sit with it a little bit and say, okay, what's happening here? What happens next? He says, well, if you strive really hard and if you don't make it, you're still in the matrix. Next time I'll give you better birth. There he says, in those better births, you'll get impressions from previous lives and you'll strive again. He says, you will be drawn helplessly by the merits of previous actions. So it's not lost. All the work we do now is not lost. Then you'll be curious about the path of yoga and you'll go beyond just a theoretical understanding of what Brahman is. You'll become Brahman. Perseverance. So that was the karma part of our soul person. Now we'll come to the jnana part. But Harpreet, you had a question? How are we doing on time?
Comment technique, the 26 qualities. I think when you translate to English, they just sound so like superficial. So I want to know in Sanskrit. Sanskrit Pragyan, these Sanskrit terms for these 26. We should have it.
Verse number is 16.1 and 16.2. I encourage you to Google it up and read it, Harpreet.
I guess I would like to, maybe in the last session, I want to get it because it feels very good, like, the very
Yeah, I think these are the words that have become so like
evil and
these words have become so overused, right? But there is something to be said about going back to the source.
yeah, and then just think about evil and this you also said sounds so like in my head Christian that monotheistic version, but actually that's not what it is, right? Because it's like Rakshasa. So like how can we translate that, right?
A few days back, I think Amruta or Shruti asked a question on Ravan. So Ravan also is a good case study for this person, no? I mean, he has strong points, obviously. Sense of discipline. There was a good in him. But then there was the bad in him also. So I say this again because the modern psychology hijacked the word trauma so badly that we start thinking that everything is bad inside of us. Look at me, my poor soul. But have we taken the time to analyze the gifts we also have? My Swami says the more you think about the inert, you will become inert. Good? Anything before we move to the jnana part of it, which is now, if you think, will lead to who am I? Circle will now complete. It will come here now. Just giving a heads up. Because The jnana, ignorance, is what's standing between these two, between this and this. Karma yoga was for this. See, we're going this way. Yes? Karma yoga is for this body. Bhakti and dhyana is for this body. And jnana yoga is going to be for this body. And the jnana will liberate us. How? There's a magic here. Jnana and karma are causally linked. That's why they're in the same body. But not this action, but the consequence. We talk about the mirror having dust. The dust is karmic imprint. Once you polish that mirror, that karma is dusted away. That's what shows up automatically is Gyan. Make sense? Dusty mirror, you're looking at it, you can't see your face. The dust is the karma or karmic impression. You clean that karma, all you see is jnana, yourself. Does it make sense? It took me a while to figure it out. Because the words I use that jnana will burn karma. What does that even mean? Someone was asking, now we use these words, why do we use these words in so many different ways, no? Okay, let's keep on tracking. Knowledge. Knowledge is, opposite knowledge is ignorance. Opposite of knowledge is what? Ignorance. Ignorance has no beginning. If you don't know something, you don't know something. You never knew that something. But ignorance has an end. Yes? So, I'll quickly go through it. So there are three aspects to any knowledge. There's philosophy of knowledge, epistemology it is called. There is the knower. There is the knowledge. And then there is a way to get that knowledge, the means of knowledge. For example, I see that chair. I am the knower. The chair is the knowledge. My eyes are how I am seeing the chair is the means of knowledge. Make sense? Triputi, it is said in Vedanta. The knower, the known, the means of knowledge. Once all these three are done, what do you get is the knowledge, the realization of that knowledge itself. Once I see the chair, I already got the knowledge now. But there's a triad. The knower, the knowledge that there's a chair there, and the means, the seeing. But what is this knowledge we are talking about specifically? We're not talking about everyday knowledge here. So, Mundak Upanishad, I'll take inspiration from the Mundak Upanishad. Mundak Upanishad says there are two kinds of knowledge. The lower knowledge and the higher knowledge. He says two kinds of knowledge are to be known. So declare the knowers of Brahman, the wise people. The higher and the lower. The lower knowledge consists of the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda and Atharva Veda, along with phonetics, ritual, grammar, etymology, meter and astronomy. But basically, in modern day world, everything that we may know about science and arts and music and language, all of that is lower knowledge. But the higher knowledge is that of the imperishable Atman, imperishable Brahman, Akshara. So clear hierarchy is there. To operate in the world, we need the lower knowledge. But the highest knowledge is the knowledge who am I, which is the realization that I am actually the unlimited. And then he says, once we go through these three dolls, the realization that you're Atman, you don't have to do anything about it, it comes on its own. Because that's your real nature, that's your Swarup. I am, what does it need? But I am Pranav is where the problem is. I am has no problem. Once I can get past Pranav, this is only that remains. Automatically, there's no option. But to work in this world, I need that knowledge of I am Pranav also. Yes? And that is where trying to go down our ego helps. Dissolve the Pranav as much as we can. That, I was saying that ego will always be there to be functional in the world. How much of a ego baggage we carry is what it is going to be about. And there's some marketing Krishna does here. He says, when this knowledge is realized, nothing else remains to be known in this world. You know where they say in India, there are saints who know everything. It doesn't mean they know your name, they know when you were born and all that stuff. No. They know everything is that they know this whole game. In their bones, they know that game. And then as part of marketing, Krishna calls this knowledge by many different names. Vivekananda calls it the open secret. Krishna calls it by many names, secret, dharma, use the metaphor, this knowledge is like the sun. This knowledge is the fire that will burn this karmic impression, karma. This knowledge is the boat. Is this here boat, no? The soul on a boat in this soul cycle. This knowledge is this boat that will take us on the other side. Liberation, moksha. He calls it the lamp. Lamp of wisdom. In fact, I've listed down these verses here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Seventh verses he says, Arjun, I'm telling you a secret. It's a strange kind of secret that is written in this book that is available to everyone. That is who you are. This is who you are. Running around hypnotically in the world. So, he says that how to get this knowledge is by getting over all the things our karma that is holding us back. And that is the path of Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga as in, I'm going really fast today. The material is all there. I've shared it with you. Jnana Yoga, in Vedanta, there is this idea of Shravan Manan Nididhyasana. Has anybody heard of that? It's a method of self-inquiry. Shravan means to listen first. Manan means to reflect now. Nididhyasana is now practices. Swami Vivekananda said, no. Aptly he says, today's quote of the day was, I've given you advice enough. You've heard a lot. Now put at least something in practice. Right? There is other practice other than Shravan Manan Nididhyasana. What is the problem holding us in this for the soul? What was one word that we used again and again today? Desire. What is the practice? Dispassion. Renunciation. Dispassion, a few days back we were talking about, no? Opposite of passion. Again, Gita's world is upside down. But renounce what? A poor man cannot say, I renounce wealth. Only a Buddha can renounce the kingdom, no? So, my Swami says renunciation basically means first dropping your lower desires in service of higher desires. You see what I'm saying? It's a step. First, we have to renounce our lower desires in service of a higher desire. And in Gita's world view, the highest desire is moksha. But again, this framework applies to everything, every goal in our life. I have to get up at 5 for yoga. That is a higher desire. What do I have to renounce for that? Right? So sannyas is the technical word for renunciation. It gets a very bad reputation nowadays. They say when monks walk around asking for bhiksha and all, they renounce the world. Gita is not talking about that kind of renouncing. Gita is for householders, I keep saying again and again. People have to live in the world. The Arjuns of the world. They have to live in the world. They cannot renounce the world. But Krishna is saying, how do you live in the world? Keep letting go fruits of action. Tyaga. Keep doing tyaga. Tyaga will ultimately lead to sannyas. It will become a habit. Letting go requires practice. By enough letting go, that letting go itself will become part of who we are. That is renunciation. Chapter 18.1 actually starts like this. Last chapter, first verse. So that's when you know he's being serious here. Arjun asks, Krishna, I want to know in a sense what is sannyas and what is tyag. Tyag is the practice for the karma, this doing person. To let go. Sannyas is the practice for the soul person. To have no desires. This person will work with desires. Tyaga, once you have desire, let go. Expectations. That's the lower practice. Make sense? The higher practice is sannyas. Krishna says very clearly, he says, 18.2, to not have desire, let me start with tyaga, to let go of the fruits of all actions is tyaga, which you talked about a lot. To not have desire as the motive for actions is sannyasa. So there's a hierarchy involved in here. Karma yoga is the basic practice. Once karma yoga becomes habit for us, Simultaneously, we work on Dhyana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. After that, Shravan Manan Nididhyasana, the practice becomes more and more and more solidified in us. Whatever karmic load we are carrying, that starts reducing and reducing and reducing. The mirror gets polished and polished and polished till you see your face beautifully and clearly. So that is moksha. He says, greater than the material offering is the offering of knowledge. Again, the dance between karma. Karma is this karma, not that doing person karma. Soul karma. All actions ultimately lead in knowledge. Then he says, the free one, this one, is free of attachments, established with the mind firmly in knowledge, acting only in spirit of unselfish service. Their karma is dissolved. Says, just as a blazing fire burns firewood to ashes, so does the fire of knowledge burn all karma. With intellect in that being this, mind in that, faith in that, that as the highest goal, they go from where there is no rebirth. The knowledge burns all sins. If it still feels this knowledge of Atman is still theoretical, sit with it. Do Shravan Manan Nididhyasana. See how we are different from others. That is leading to this duality. Whatever we have discussed in the last few sessions, sit with it and see. That can't be it, no? Where did this body come from? And how is this body different? What is different about these bodies? What is the same about these bodies? The more and more we'll find a unique sort of a paradox where, yes, we are all different, but you're all the same also. And that is what Krishna is pointing us to. And that ends the discussion on these four dolls, what I call the doll of psychology, on which we spent actually 7 sessions. Because that is actually the heart of Gita. Tomorrow will be a session in which we'll discuss these other 3 dolls, and we'll have to go fast tomorrow because we all want to finish by Friday. It'll be a fun session, I think. No psychology tomorrow. Little philosophy, but no psychology. I'll just take a moment if there are any questions before we end. No questions today because there's a lot heavy stuff in here. This is the one that we need to work with. And the outward manifestation is the doing person, the inner manifestation, the experiencing person. Okay, let's do a quick prayer and then go on to our kirtan. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamaste. Thank you, thank you, thank you.